Everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. And without further delay, I got to bring in my colleague, my friend, Mr. Larry
Hey
Johnson.
man,
How
you look like the Jeffersons moving on up. You got a fancier background now.
Hey, it's all because of my son, Larry. My son does
Oh,
all of this technical stuff, and he
yeah.
is like toying with little things. I have no idea. I'll just give him an idea, and I'll say, "Hey, could you make it look like this, and this?" And he'll, "Dad,
Okay.
move out of the way, Dad. Just move out of the way."
Yeah,
And
you raised them right. Give the kid good credit for
appreciate
creativity.
that.
Yeah.
Larry, I wanna read to you two definitions, and then we'll discuss this Venezuelan thing with the United States seizing the plane, because I think this is a step into international banditry, and I think it is a sign of a decline in empire. So, according to the Google's dictionary, um, the term international pariah means an international pariah, also known as a pariah state or global pariah, is a country that is considered an outcast in the international community. This can happen when a country's actions, policies, or existence are unacceptable to other countries. Right there. Now, the second word is bandit. Bandit. The word bandit means a robber or outlaw belonging to a gang and typically operating in an isolated or lawless area. Aren't those apt descriptions of America right now in the
Sure.
international community and in her policies towards other nations who rebel against her dictates?
Yeah. The shoe fits, man. Wear it. We certainly, we've not been out making friends. Or that's why I've called. Our foreign policy is like that, written by a guy who's a serial rapist. You know, you're giving advice on dating and marriage. Really? You know, there, there's no invitation to dinner. There's no candy. There's no flowers. There are no gifts. Man, we just take away every bit of your dignity if we can. It's really it's sad.
Yeah.
Uh, there's this trial underway today up in Tampa of it's this black Muslim group, and they're accusing them of being agents of the Russians. Passing on
Oh
Russian
yeah.
disinformation. And I'm reading that, and he, let's assume that everything that they said, that the Russians encouraged them or paid them to put up messages that are pro-Russian. What the hell do you think the United States has been doing over the last 100 years? For God's sake! I mean, good Lord! If the double standard on this is just staggering, and
Mhm.
uh, according if we were going to charge the United States like we're charging these four, uh, because the United States funds the National Endowment for Democracy, among other things, and that's overseas spreading the news, the so-called good news about the United States. It's all it is an influence operation. We're doing exactly what we're claiming that these Russians did with these guys, only they did it. Man, they went in on the cheap. They didn't even get paid well. Even if they got paid, I'm not even sure they got paid. So it's just, America's lost its way. We're a bully, just pure and simple. We're a bully, and somebody needs to stop us.
Mhm.
And that
And
looks like that's Russia's in the process of doing that in Ukraine.
and that leads us to the Ukraine. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
great minds think alike. Before we address that, I want to give a shout out to Naeem88 for becoming a new channel member. I appreciate it. But Larry, I was reading, where is it? I was reading on Sputnik today, or Sputnik, whichever one you want to say, and RT today. There's a report saying that the U.S. is close to giving long-range strike missiles, the JSAMs, to Ukraine. It says here, the inclusion of JSAM missiles in a new weapons package for Ukraine could reportedly be announced this fall. The U.S. is close to approving the shipment of long-range cruise missiles to Ukraine despite repeated warnings from Moscow, Reuters reported on Tuesday, citing officials who spoke on condition of anonymity. The weapons in question, the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, could be integrated into U.S.-designed F-16 fighter jets supplied to Kiev by its Western sponsors. Isn't that a direct declaration of war? Because these F-16s are nuclear capable, and you are now supplying them with long-range, not the disputed territories in the Donbass or other regions, but you are giving it specifically for Ukraine to strike Russian, what everybody recognizes as Russian territory. That is not an act of war by Ukraine. That's a declaration of war by America and NATO, isn't it?
No, it's certainly it's a provocation, and Russia could absolutely take it that way. I think what the Russians have demonstrated that they're going to do is they're not going to get mad, but they are going to blow this stuff up, just like they destroyed one the other day. Now, again, trying to get a straight story out of that one, boy, what a mess. The Ukrainians claim they shot it down with friendly fire. Now that leads to my own theory here, which is, remember the Russians were offering a reward to the first one to down an F-16. I'm thinking Zelensky had that thing shot down so he could collect the reward from the Russians. So okay. But so the Ukrainians say that a Patriot missile battery shot it down. There's some indication that the Russians actually hit it with a missile while the pilot was trying to get in or get off the ground. Or it's possible that the pilot got shot out of the midair, or he crashed with a malfunction. Who knows? All we do know is, as Queen sang, another one bites the dust. It's gone. So down the road, if the United States decides to try to hide these and base these F-16s in Poland or Romania, then you can see that if they try to do that, hang on for a second, I've got to turn this off. Then the United States very well could face an attack in those areas. Russia will go after them, just like what happened today up at that military training academy, Poltava.
Yes.
That apparently there were NATO trainers, or saying they're Swedish. Remains to be seen if there are any other nationalities, but killed a large number, 51, and at least 51 dead, 270 wounded, which is likely some of those are going to die. So it's a bad situation but it shows what Russia's going to do. If you're going to keep bringing these foreign trainers, we'll attack you, and we'll kill you. You've now made yourself a target.
Do you think that Russia should interdict some of this stuff before it reaches you? I'm sorry, Larry. Yeah. I'm sorry, Larry. They're messing with the show a little bit. Do you think that they should interdict some of these weapons before they get into Ukraine?
Well, they're going to try, yes. I think you've seen there are a couple of plant has blown up in Germany that was involved with making explosives and anti-tank guided missiles and such. Very likely that the Russians may have had a sabotage team that got in there and blew it up. That if I was Russians, I'd be trying to do that, destroy as much of it as possible before it gets to the battlefield.
What kind of pressure is Vladimir Putin under? Trump with this, some people say so slow pace and not responding to the constant provocations by the U.S. and NATO. What kind of pressure is he under?
Not much. Yeah, it doesn't seem to bother him. He is he remains calm, doesn't get excited, doesn't get overly emotional. He can get a little tight-jawed sometimes, but I think what we've seen is, so far, this was not a perfect Russian strategy from the outset. I think there was an intelligence failure on the part of the SVR formerly of the KGB, that they had, I think they had predicted with some degree of confidence that a deal could be struck with the Ukrainian military and some political officials to, get them to back off and not go to war. Well, that turned out to be complete hogwash. And then when they did almost have an agreement in hand, Western pressure compelled the Ukrainians to back away. And so by April of 2022, the Russians began to realize, okay, we're going to be in for a bigger fight than we anticipated. And that's why in that September, when they made the move to mobilize 300,000 immediately, which was calling up reserves, but then stepping up the recruitment effort into the army. And, since probably October of 2022, we're coming up on 2 full years where they've been recruiting 30 to 40,000 soldiers a month. So, that's over probably close to 1 million new soldiers on top of what was already in, and the ones that are coming in getting trained at at least 6-month intervals. So Russia's in a much stronger position. Meanwhile, Ukraine's going the exact opposite direction. It's not building up its forces, and it's losing. It's now losing upwards of 40,000 men a month. So, I mean, just to stay even, they need to recruit probably 45,000. They're not even getting half that. And a lot of the ones they're getting, they're dragging in off the street, and those guys are not what you'd call highly motivated to fight. They're going to get away as soon as they can. So it is. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but does the leadership in Washington and the West, do they have any morals or ethics to send these people out there to the slaughter just to advance Americans' hegemonic policies? I mean, because look at all the people that are being slaughtered and killed, and this is by extension from the Ukraine. You had what went on in Mali, Niger, and all of these other areas just to try to maintain U.S. hegemony. Do these people ever have a epiphany or a moment of reflection to say, hey, maybe what I'm doing is going to send me directly to hell, to not pass go, to not collect $200, but straight to hell?
Yeah. If you ever cut yourself while you're shaving and you tear off a piece of toilet paper and stick it there to try to stop the bleeding. That's what these other countries, what these Ukrainians are to the United States. Or that toilet paper you stick on there to stop the bleeding. Just something you can use. No regard for it, no care for it, nothing. I mean, it really is. We're talking about a level of evil here that is just satanic. The United States convinces itself that it's out in the world doing the right thing for the right reasons, and yet all we leave behind us is a wake of destruction, death and destruction, widows and orphans. And, we facilitate this just across the board. It's not, Russia's not responsible for the body counts in Afghanistan and Iraq over the last 30 years. You can pin the Soviets' responsibility for what happened in the 80s, but after that, that's on us, particularly in Iraq. And then Somalia, ditto. Libya, ditto. Syria, ditto. Ukraine now, yeah, that's on us. No other country in the world has the kind of body count that we do. And you got to think, if nations are judged by what they do, and that there is a divine presence, a power beyond man that passes judgment on this, boy, we got some trouble waiting for us. There's some karma to be delivered that's not going to be very pleasant.
it seems like to me there's no one at the wheel of the American car, and it seems like it's
Yeah.
driving faster and faster towards that cliff over there. And to me, it's outrageous that nobody would have the morality or to sit back and reflect and say, hey, maybe let me pump the brakes a little bit. The signs, we keep seeing the signs that says the bridge is out up there. Let me pump the brakes just a little bit. And it seems like instead they're saying, you know what, we can make the jump. If the bridge is out, we can make the jump. And they're just putting their foot on the gas and they're just going 200 miles towards the cliff.
Yeah. I saw that in that movie Road Trip. The four guys, college guys,
Yeah.
and they run and jump the bridge, man. They didn't quite make it. Yeah, no, that's what's going on here. There really is. No, you're right. We're in the back and seated in the rows in the airplane, looking up into the cockpit and expecting to see the pilot. Man, there's nobody in the pilot seat. And whoever, put in the autopilot, put in somebody that's crazy. So we don't, there is no adult in the room. We're in an interesting time, though, because of the impending presidential election in 2 months. That I don't think now anybody in the Biden administration wants to get into any kind of war whatsoever, for fear that it's not going to rally the American people behind them. Only if they could arrange some sort of false flag where it looked like the United States was directly attacked, and Pearl Harbor type of event. Then there would be that initial anger. We got to strike back. But even then, unless we're going to try to go to war with Iran, which would be crazy, it's going to create some real economic chaos. So I don't see. We're going to be in a position of drift over the next couple of months. That's why they can't figure out whether they're going to give Zelensky those JSAM missiles or not. Maybe we'll give them, maybe we won't. Even if they could give them, it's not even clear we got them in inventory to give away. And there's some production issues with the Patriots, and the same with the ATACMS. So the United States has spent all the money in its vault. Now we're waiting on that monthly check to come in.
Before I address the question that's put to you in the chat, I want to ask you, what is going on with Iran and its retaliatory strikes against Israel?
I bet you they're listening to some Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay, man. They're in no rush. They will retaliate at a time and place of their choosing. And the more they can keep the United States and Israel guessing, the more they keep them off balance. I've described it as, this is like those side effects from a bad dose of Viagra. United States has said, ready, we're ready. Now we've been ready now for 3 weeks. We're ready. It's so, man, this readiness is getting, we can't maintain our readiness.
Yeah. And I think also, I was getting ready to say on that, Larry, also remember that it costs a lot of money to stay in that state of readiness.
Yeah. And tell you what, each passing day, they're going to need to, that's going to make one more day closer that they're going to need to pull those forces out to resupply, if nothing else. So, and, when I do firearms training and training people to carry concealed firearm, there are 4 levels of awareness. There's unaware, that's like when you're asleep or you're just watching TV, you're not paying attention. There's aware, that, okay, you're alert for the possibility that there might be a threat somewhere. There is alert where, oh my God, yeah, this does look like a potential threat, but I got to watch it. And then there's alarm where something is happening and you got to respond. Well, the average person you can't stay at that alert or alarm level very long without it affecting you mentally. The same thing applies to military. And so we've essentially got the U.S. Navy out there on an alert level that it's going to be very, very difficult to sustain that for another month. I suspect that Iran's not going to do anything for at least another month. They are content to let the West go, because it's last week. Iran's going to strike in 48 hours. Tick, tick, tick. 48 hours comes and goes, and we've heard that same report over like the last three or 4 weeks. No, this weekend, yeah, next 48 hours. No, did I say 48? I meant 72. Next week. Iran, like I said, Iran has got sort of control of that narrative, and it's a little frustrating. And then this last Hezbollah missile strike inside Israel, after Israel supposedly hit Hezbollah targets in Lebanon and Syria. I think Hezbollah did some real damage to that base, Gilead. Lot, I guess it is, outside of Tel Aviv, where this unit 8200 is based. There's even some reports that maybe the head of that was killed, but they at least suffered damage to buildings, if not damage and injuries to personnel who served there. That's one of the reasons Israel ordered a lockdown on all information. Because they said, Hezbollah didn't lay a hand on us. Really? Show us the pictures. Oh, no, we got to lock those down. We got to show those. That tells you everything you need to know. Because if you say, hey, you didn't lay a glove on me. Okay, let's see the face. Oh, no, you can't look at my face. See that closed eye and the swollen nose, and yeah. So the war's just sort of entered while Israel is stepping up its attacks in the West Bank, and the violence is growing there. They haven't resorted to the kinds of bombing strikes in the West Bank that they did in Gaza. They're using ground operations there, and then they're suffering casualties. They've been threatening to invade Iran for the last 9 months, or invaded southern Lebanon. Excuse me. But I think Israel and the United States are now sort of both caught. They don't know what to do. All the traditional tools that we've used to put these people back in their place haven't worked. Hasn't worked against the Houthis, not working against Hezbollah, and Hamas reportedly is growing in strength, recruiting more people, not less.
Ping One in the comments has a question directly for you. He says, "Hey Larry, did Trump become president because of America's merit-based system, but DEI is bad?" That's for you.
I think Trump became president in 2016 because he honed a populist message that resonated with a lot of people. He's not willing to play part of that Washington establishment. He's not beholden to them. Sure made a lot of mistakes in hiring people, though. Boy, oh boy. Ended up hiring the very people who were working to undermine him. But no, I think he understands. He has a better understanding of what average people are going through in their lives. Even though he's lived the life of the rich and famous, he's always found a way to sort of identify with average working people.
Okay. Flying Crocodile 46 says, "I think the whole world is being gaslit into believing in the validity or justness of all individual conflicts and acts of chaos, when in reality, they are all actions intended to create the same end." That's for you, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
So Larry, what is it? I know the time is short, so I'm going to try to get my question in.
Sure.
Larry, so what is it looking like on the battlefield in Ukraine right now? Because we get reports that the lines are crumbling all across the line of contact, and the Russians are advancing at breakneck, faster than they've ever advanced before. And also, there are reports that there are Georgians French and some U.S. Western speaking so-called quote unquote mercenaries that are in the ranks of the Ukrainian forces trying to maintain that line. What is going on? Will this thing spill over?
Yeah, well, the Ukrainians are losing and losing badly now. I think it was said earlier that um, back a year ago, on average, the Ukrainians were losing about 24,000 people a month, killed and wounded. Maybe less, 210. So 210,000. Now that number's up over 40,000 a month. Uh, they're losing. Uh, let's see, I can't even do my math properly here. But if you're losing 2,000 a day, and then you do that over 60 days, you're up over 600,000 or 60,000. Excuse me, 60,000 a month. So if you're losing 60,000 a month as opposed to 24,000 a month, significant difference. And Russia's not faced with that. Russia's not having losses anywhere near that number. But Russia has something Ukraine doesn't. It has a training pipeline so that there's standardized training. All Russian soldiers go through the same training. They get issued equipment. They go through advanced individual training. And then they're deployed with some experienced people who are senior non-commissioned officers who have experience and have survived on the battlefield. Ukrainians don't have that. Their cadre of senior NCOs has been greatly diminished, killed in action, wounded in action. And the troops that are being sent forward are not being subjected to any kind of lengthy training at all. And we saw today in Poltava, one of the reasons why. Because if you bring a bunch of them together to train, you're creating a big fat target that the Russians can hit, as they did. And then you've killed, between killed and wounded, over 300 people out. Just that one strike. Significant. Russia, in this, it's been the case with most wars. You get periods where there doesn't appear to be much progress on the battlefield, that there's attrition. And when one side suffers more losses than the other side, you then reach a tipping point where that enables the other side to move with greater speed through your ranks. And that's exactly what's happening now, all up and down that line in the Donbass, north to south. So we're talking over about a 600-mile length. That's like driving from Tampa, Florida, up to Raleigh, North Carolina. That's a lot of territory to cover, and if you had to defend all along that, good luck. That's what's going on in Ukraine, and people don't appreciate the scale and scope of this. They think it's just confined to a couple of baseball fields. It's not.
Last question of the day. I wanted the last question, but since Warren stole my questions, Warren, I'm the host. You can't steal my questions, man. No.
Yes. What did Warren have to say?
Warren says, are not these conflicts in the Middle East, Ukraine, and potential in Taiwan just war on BRICS, SCO, BRI in order to maintain collective West hegemony?
I don't. The West can't figure out what to do right now. I'm seeing no signs of any kind of strategic thinking at all, because they looked at BRICS as an experimental plane that wasn't going to take off. So that thing would never fly. Yeah, guess what? It got off the ground. It's flying, and it's flying in such a way that Turkey's going, you know what? Screw the EU. We don't want to join the EU anymore. We want to join BRICS.
Mm-hmm.
And once they join BRICS, that's going to be a game changer for NATO, because the folks that In Turkey, they want some, you know, what Aretha Franklin sang about, that respect. They want the respect, and they haven't got it. They've been disrespected across the board by the Europeans. They look at them like, "Oh, you stinky Muslims! We don't want you around us." Ugh. Yeah, they've been banging at the door for 30 years, trying to, hey, can I come in? Can we join? Stay out, stay away. You know, I mean, really, it's humiliating. And in any country with a modicum of self-respect, turn around and said, "I don't need this. I don't need these people. I'm gonna go my own way." So I think what you're seeing with now BRICS is I'm sure the West can do a lot to stop it, including going to war. We've already established that if the United States did try to enter this war, they'd be out of ammunition, critical ammunition, and ATACMS and Patriots in 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. They, wow. You know, they don't have any staying power. So, let's face it. The United States is only good for a quickie.
How did I know you were going to say that, Larry?
I know. You tempted me. Sorry.
Larry, I knew you were going to say that. I started laughing immediately before you even uttered the words. I knew it was headed there.
Well, it really is. It really is true. We like, and yeah, I'll use the porn imagery. The United States likes to imagine itself that it's some legendary porn actor who's, Mr. Endurance. And the reality is the United States is going to be good for about a 15-second appearance. And then we're going to go, is that it? Where'd they go? Because, we're all of a sudden, it's not like we can turn a factory on and say, okay, start cranking out those Patriots, baby. We do. Lockheed Martin does 550 a year. That's about 1.5 a day. So in 7 days, they got 10 of those made. Woohoo. Well, when you figure you're going to fire 2 of those missiles for every inbound rocket that the Russians are firing, just do the math. What happens? You run out real fast. So,
man, Larry, thank you again for gracing us on this platform with your presence.
All right, man. Well, hey, I always appreciate the invite and always will accommodate you. And I thank you for being flexible too, since you had to accommodate my change in schedule.
It's all good, Larry. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Be safe and be blessed.
All right. And my best to your young man for the good work he did in creating a background.
I appreciate that. I'll tell him in a few minutes. I'll tell him. Thank you so much, Larry.
Cool. All right, my friend. Bye-bye.
All right. Everybody, I want to take the time, but I want to go back to the chat just in case you didn't know before we go up. We have a new channel member, my guy, Naeem88. We got to post this back up here again. Thank you for your support. From the bottom of my heart to the depth of my soul, you just don't know what your support means to me. And I want to say this to each and every one of you. It's not even financial with me. I'm just glad to be a part of this, to try to get truth out, because there are so many hindrances and so many obstacles to truth. And sometimes even those who are espousing truth get burned out a little bit. And when you see a person become a channel member or a Patreon or a super chat or a super thanks, it sometimes motivates you. It puts a little bit more spunk in your trunk, a little more gas in your tank to go that extra mile. And I want to thank each and every one of you for giving me your time, because just like with monetary donations, your time means so much to me. I don't want this day to pass, and I don't want any day to pass without each and every one of you knowing that I really appreciate the time that you've allotted to this show. And I hope that the time that you've spent with us, you have received an equal or greater payout for the time that you spent. On that note, I want to say to you all, know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. And remember to do right by others, not because other people are watching, because we know that God will always be watching. Do right because it is the right thing to do. That's what my mama told me. That's what my mama put in me. That's what my mama beat into me. So I'm going to beat it into you guys to do right by others, because there's so much going on, and people do not respect persons or property in this day and time. So respect everybody until they show that they're not worthy of your respect. I go out the same way I come in, with love in my heart for each and every one of you. Hey, mama, guess what? Your baby boy still loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We're out of here. Peace.